if time isn't as fixed as we think? In this journey through the mysterious folds of reality, we dive into astonishing tales of accidental time travel and unexplained temporal glitches. What if a personal tragedy could light the spark for defying physics itself? Meet Professor Ronald Mallett, a man whose childhood heartbreak transformed into a lifelong quest to bend time. At just 10 years old, Mallett's world was shattered by the sudden loss of his beloved father, Boyd. In the midst of overwhelming grief, he discovered solace in the pages of H.G. Wells' The Time Machine and the revolutionary ideas of Einstein. These readings planted a radical seed in his mind. What if time, much like space, could be traveled? With his heart set on rewriting the past, young Mallett vowed to journey back to 1955 to save his father. Fueling his dreams with determination, Mallett dove deep into the world of physics. Even as a child cobbling together a makeshift model from bicycle parts, spare TV components, and old radio bits, his ideas transcended mere fantasy. He was captivated by a single transformative line. Scientific people know very well that time is just a kind of space, which propelled him into a stellar academic career. Over the decades, he advanced from a curious, grief-stricken boy in the Bronx into one of the pioneering theoretical physicists of his generation. Now an emeritus professor at the University of Connecticut, Mallett's research centers on the audacious idea, twisting the fabric of space-time with a ring of rotating lasers. Imagine stirring a cup of coffee until the swirl creates a vortex. Mallett theorizes that a similar effect occurs near a rotating black hole, where space-time itself gets dragged along. By replicating such conditions with a continuously spinning beam of light, he believes a loop of time might be created. A portal, if you will, that allows travel back along the timeline. Although the practical hurdles remain enormous, his critics point out that such a machine would require astronomical amounts of energy, likening it to a galactic-scale feat. His theory has sparked serious discussion in academic circles. Institutions like MIT and specialized departments worldwide are now studying aspects of time reversal and related phenomena, signaling that time travel might be less outlandish than once thought. While Mallett's ultimate goal, to return to 1955 and rewrite personal history, remains beyond our reach, and, by his own admission, might only ever allow travel back to the moment the time loop was created, his work has broader, inspiring implications. He envisions a future where the ability to manipulate time could be harnessed for incredible advances, predicting natural disasters with precision, inventing breakthrough treatments in medicine, or even curbing the impact of catastrophic events like pandemics. In this light, his research is less about personal revenge against fate and more about opening doors to potential innovations that could transform the well-being of humanity. His journey from a grieving child to a celebrated astrophysicist illustrates how heartache can fuel intellectual curiosity, inspiring us to question the rigid boundaries of our reality. In his eyes, his father's memory is not just a source of sorrow, but the spark that ignited a legacy of discovery. And in my opinion, that is the best legacy he could have left, and I can only imagine how proud his father would have been. Andrew Basiago is a controversial figure who claims that as a child, he was recruited into a secret US government project, often associated with the mysterious Project Pegasus that allegedly enabled him to traverse both space and time. According to his narrative, these experimental missions allowed him not only to visit different points in history, but also to glimpse potential futures, suggesting that the rigid boundaries between past, present, and future might be more flexible than mainstream science acknowledges. Andrew's accounts describe surreal journeys during which he purportedly witnessed historical events firsthand and interacted with realities that challenge our conventional understanding of time. While his stories have captured the imagination of time travel enthusiasts and sparked intriguing debates within alternative scientific circles, mainstream researchers remain skeptical, citing a lack of empirical evidence to substantiate these extraordinary claims. I know the claims sound outlandish, but this is also coming from a person who is apparently a practicing and educated attorney. It all really is interesting, and hey, I could see it being true, and also untrue, so I guess I'll just let you decide on this one. Could it be a hidden hand that has been subtly rewriting our timeline all along? Some researchers point to a peculiar spike in Mandela effect searches around 2005, speculating that one mysterious figure might be at the root of these temporal oddities. They draw connections between little-known details, like Donald Trump's uncle, once a respected MIT professor who played a role in World War II, and his family's acquisition of Nikola Tesla's private research, which was later funneled to John Trump for analysis after Tesla's demise. This web of intrigue deepens when you factor in figures such as Alfred Lee Loomis, a key collaborator in the Manhattan Project and pioneer of cyclotron technology, who reportedly worked closely with John Trump. Then there's the curious role of Prince Bernhard, a co-founder of both CERN and the Bilderberg Group, who reportedly orchestrated a covert mission to collect and repurpose German scientific research on the Heidelberg cyclotron after World War II, a move seen by some as part of a larger, hidden agenda against Nazi Germany. All of these connections hint at a clandestine effort where cutting-edge science, government cover-ups, and historical revisionism intermingle, leaving us to wonder if our understanding of time has been manipulated by forces determined to keep these secrets buried beneath layers of conspiracy and intrigue. Could a year in space turn your body into a real-life time machine, rewriting how you age? Consider the famous twin paradox from Einstein's playbook. One twin zooming through space at near light speed should age slower than the twin left on Earth, but real-life evidence from NASA's twin astronauts tells a twisty tale. Astronaut Scott Kelly, who spent nearly a year aboard the International Space Station, appears to have aged slightly faster than his identical Earthbound twin Mark, a striking example of how the extreme conditions of space can warp not only your surroundings but also your very biological clock. When Scott ventured into low Earth orbit, he wasn't hurtling through space at light speed. Instead, his body faced a cocktail of space-related challenges. Constant exposure to radiation, the stress of microgravity, disrupted sleep cycles, and the cramped confines of a space station. These factors combined to accelerate certain aspects of his aging process. While traditional time dilation from high-speed travel remains safely in Einstein's theoretical realm, Scott's experience hints at a more earthly sort of time travel, one that happens inside our cells. One of the quirkiest findings from the NASA twins study was that Scott's telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of our chromosomes that naturally shorten as we age, actually lengthened while he was in space, in a way that seemed like a reverse aging effect, a biological nod to the possibility of time reversal. But here's the catch. Once he returned to Earth, those telomere gains vanished, and in fact, he ended up with more short telomeres than before his flight. This sudden flip-flop raises both scientific questions and health concerns, pointing to a long-term risk of accelerated aging or even an increased chance of developing age-related diseases. So, next time you glance at the clock, ponder this. Could the ticking of our timepieces be subtly affected by where we are, or even by the very environment we inhabit? With every venture into space, humanity inches closer to understanding the intricate dance between time, biology, and the cosmos. What if the sound of crashing waves carried echoes of centuries past? Down in the quaint coastal town of Broadhaven, Wales, local residents and visitors have reported moments where time itself seems to rewind. One well-documented account tells of a family enjoying a sunny beach day, only to be startled when the laughter of children and the clatter of horse-drawn carriage sounds seemingly out of place filled the air. For a few breathless minutes, the modern seaside transformed into a scene reminiscent of the 19th century. Old-fashioned attire, vintage beach umbrellas, and even a glimpse of a forgotten seaside fair emerged as if summoned by the tides. Though no definitive evidence proves a temporal shift, The repetitive detail and specificity of these tales have earned the spot a reputation among time slip enthusiasts. It remains a beloved piece of local lore, inviting curious visitors to watch the horizon and wonder if, just for a moment, history might be unfolding right before their eyes. Picture an unidentified man claiming he's a time traveler from the year 3036 recently found himself in hot water with the law after being arrested for stealing. Authorities were immediately baffled. He had no birth record, no social security number, and no official identification on file. When asked about his actions, he explained that in his time, clothing and food are freely available in marketplaces, so taking them without paying is completely normal. His assertion that this behavior is standard in his future society not only added a surreal twist to the encounter, but also sparked a mixture of intrigue and amusement among those who heard the story. Whether he is truly from 3036 or merely spinning an elaborate tale remains a bit of a mystery, leaving everyone to wonder just how much of our current reality might one day be influenced by bizarre future customs. In the mid-1970s, an 8-year-old scout from a quiet suburban neighborhood just south of Stockholm experienced a baffling episode of missing time. On an ordinary October evening, after returning from a scout meeting by foot, he followed his well-known route home until, near a familiar roundabout, everything suddenly slowed down. A deep subwoofer-like hum filled the air, and the world around him seemed to freeze in a tunnel vision moment lasting only 15 or 20 seconds. When his senses returned, he discovered that a sudden rain had drenched his clothes and sneakers, an unexpected change from the clear sky he remembered moments before. Hurrying home, he was met by his frantic parents, who insisted that he had been missing for over an hour. They explained that while they had searched the neighborhood and even contacted other parents, he had simply vanished without a trace. In later conversations, his father recalled retracing the boy's usual path in disbelief, and his mother, with a mix of humor and lingering concern, even suggested that he might have been abducted by aliens. To this day, as an adult reflecting on that lost hour, he remains mystified by the inexplicable event, with no clear memory of seeing anything other than the eerie quiet of frozen time. In the summer of 2011, a peculiar incident unfolded for a family en route to a campsite that left them baffled for years. While a 19-year-old, his sister, their father, and stepmother drove along, enjoying the journey and switching radio stations, everything seemed normal until they passed through a tunnel. Emerging on the other side, a phone call from their nan shattered their routine. She sounded relieved, asking where they were, though her and their uncle had already reached the campsite hours earlier. The conversation was utterly baffling. The father, confused by the nan's query of "where have you been," soon discovered that, according to the radio's clock, 4 hours had inexplicably vanished in what felt like mere seconds. In stunned silence, the family grappled with the surreal loss of time. Their phones confirmed that hours had indeed passed. Later discussions yielded wild theories. The father speculated that they might have slipped through a time vortex or have been abducted, while the stepmother, a general practitioner, suggested that they may have simply misjudged the passage of time or experienced a shared moment of amnesia or another delusion. Ultimately, despite occasional mentions among the family, the mystery of that 30-second lapse in time remains unsolved.
So in 2016, a team of archaeologists in Mongolia made a strange discovery. It was a 1,500-year-old mummy buried in the Altai Mountains. The body was impressively well preserved, but what really set off the internet were the shoes. People swore they looked exactly like a pair of modern Adidas sneakers. Observe the black stripes, the overall sporty design. Photos of the find started popping up online, and of course, the time travel talk began. Were they serious? For the most part, no. Were a few people serious though? Yeah. Probably. Why would someone from over 1,000 years ago be wearing something that looked like it came straight from a footlocker? People said. What the hell is footlocker? Said the Zoomers. Is that like jail for people's feet? Or MMA move? I'm not crazy, right? Like, there's not as many footlockers as there used to be. Anyway, even if it wasn't Adidas, the style was bizarrely modern. Well, that's when the experts stepped in, and by that I do not mean footlocker employees, I mean archaeologists and historians who addressed the issue at hand, or should I say issue at foot, and they said, no, these are not Adidas. Stripes were apparently part of traditional Mongolian stitching, and the shape of the shoe was just, I don't know, a coincidence, I guess. According to researchers, it wasn't meant to look like a sneaker, it just aged in a way that made it look familiar to us now. This is what Mike Tyson used to look like before his face tattoo. This is footage from his 1995 boxing match with Peter McNeely, but when you slow it down and zoom in on a guy sitting ringside, something looks kinda out of place. Someone looks like they're holding up something that looks exactly like a smartphone, filming vertically, which is weird because it's 1995. Phones like that just didn't exist yet. The first smartphones were still years away, and the first phones with video cameras were even further off. But this guy is clearly holding something slim and rectangular. You can even see a lens glint in the light, like it's catching the action. So what was it? Well, some say it was just a camcorder, but camcorders in the mid-90s were clunky, didn't hold them like a phone. Others say maybe it was a prototype. I don't know. I think the most probable answer, though, is that someone who was so distraught over his fight with Jake Paul, or whatever you want to call that, I don't even know if it was a fight, but in their desperation, they were somehow able to craft a working time machine, using it to, of course, travel back to the mid-90s to see Mike Tyson right after he got out of prison. It's an odd time to choose, not quite his prime, but he was still winning fights. Regardless, though, if you're gonna go back in time, you're not going to leave your cell phone behind, right? So this one comes from a 1938 video. It's quick, but take a look at the woman who has her hand to her ear. Notice something? It really looks like she's talking on a cell phone, doesn't it? Now, obviously, that makes zero sense. Cell phones weren't a thing for another 60 years, so of course people started tossing around their theories. Aside from people debunking it, though, there are really only two theories people have: that this chick's either a time traveler, or this is a case of some sort of glitch in reality. Like whatever computer overlord is controlling our reality accidentally added a cell phone to a video supposedly shot long before they were invented. Makes sense to me, but the official explanation is more boring. Interesting in its own way, though. So a woman came forward years later claiming that it was her great aunt in the footage. According to her, a factory she was working at had an experimental communications division, and the workers were testing out wireless radios. That's supposedly what this woman was holding, a two-way radio prototype. Kinda cool. But if that technology was available in 1938, why did it take another half century to get mobile phones into people's hands? I don't know, I just make videos about sea monsters and ghosts. The hell do I know, really? Cell phones are all over this list. Seems like this is the only way to tell if someone's traveled back in time and showed up on camera. So this one comes from a behind-the-scenes video that was included as a bonus feature for Charlie Chaplin's 1928 movie, The Circus. Shows people arriving for the film's premiere. It's street footage outside the theater in Los Angeles. But if you look closely, there's a woman walking by in the background doing something very weird for 1928. She's holding something up to her ear, and she's talking into it, like she's on a cellular telephone. Filmmaker George Clark posted the clip online back in 2010, and he called it Chaplin's Time Traveler. The mainstream explanation is that she's using an early hearing aid. Apparently those did exist in the late 20s, and some of them had to be held up to the ear like that. I don't know, news to me. Did a man somehow teleport onto this road in Russia? Take a look at this. It's always Russia, isn't it? I don't know why so much bizarre footage comes out of there, but this is a very strange video. I just don't understand where this guy appeared from and how he didn't get pancaked by that truck. Makes no sense. Slowing the video down, though, I don't know, maybe it looks like he was already walking on the road and the truck was just blocking our view of him, and then it does this insane swerve to avoid hitting him, but even still, this is crazy. I mean, it really does look like he just spawns out of nowhere like a video game. And whatever the explanation, he was definitely an inch from death. This one comes from a photo taken in... I'm sorry, editor. Just gonna have to insert the name in text here. This place is in Iceland. It's 1943. Nothing out of the ordinary here, right? Just a bunch of people standing around the street dressed in typical 1940s attire, but let's play some Where's Waldo. Can you spot a dude talking on a cell phone? See the guy leaning against the building? Interesting indeed. He's dressed more casually than everyone else, almost modern. I mean, he's wearing a trench coat, but modern. He's holding something up to his ear though, like he's on a phone call. Now, obviously, flip phones weren't a thing in 1943, so what's this lad here doing? Was he just checking or adjusting a pipe by listening to it? Was he scratching his face with something? Absolutely not. Don't be ridiculous. This fool was talking on a cell phone. He didn't think yours truly would notice, but I did. I did. Sue me. Honestly, though, it really does look like someone using a cell phone. Like a guy who stepped out to take a call, during a street fair or something. There's a short film from the UK that was shot in the early 1940s. It shows a bunch of people relaxing on a beach. Got kids building sandcastles, there's people reading newspapers. But right in the middle of the frame, this one guy walks through holding something. And yes, sorry for the lack of variety here, but it really looks like this man has a cell phone or some other modern piece of technology. But instead of talking on it, looks like he's texting. At least that's what a bunch of people online have said. He just looks weirdly modern and out of place. The suit probably has something to do with it. I don't think I've ever seen someone in a suit and tie at the beach. Maybe Doctor Who? But what does Doctor Who do? I don't know, you tell me. I'm Star Trek all the way, but I think he has time traveled. In 2008, a team of archaeologists in China opened what was supposed to be a completely sealed tomb, untouched for about 400 years. As they carefully went through the site, they found something on the floor, a small metal object that looked like a watch. Wasn't an ancient sundial or a decorative bracelet or something. This was an actual modern-looking watch. The time was stuck at 10:06, and the back of it was engraved with the word Swiss. Now, a find like this makes no sense. Wristwatches weren't invented until long after the tomb was sealed, and while Switzerland is definitely known for watches today, the idea that a Swiss-branded watch somehow ended up in a centuries-old Chinese tomb was very odd, to say the least. So, yes, some believe this was a case of someone slipping into the past and leaving behind their watch before returning to their own time. So this is Greta Thunberg, and this is not Greta Thunberg. Apparently. That's because this photo was taken in 1898 during the Klondike Gold Rush. The similarity is uncanny though. She even has the same braid, same serious expression. Suffice to say, this photo blew up online. Some took it as a joke, calling her a time traveler sent back to warn us, but there are totally people out there who fully believe Greta's part of a secret government time travel program. What do you all think? And of course, we gotta talk about this one. This photo was taken in 1941 at the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in British Columbia. It's your typical black and white historical image. Everyone's standing around in old-fashioned coats and hats and suits, except for one guy. One dude looks like he walked straight out of a college campus in the 2000s. He's wearing what looks like a modern sweater with a graphic tee underneath and sunglasses. He's also holding a small camera that seems pretty compact for the time. He sticks out so badly, it's almost like someone photoshopped him in. But that's not the case here. Forums and YouTube videos started popping up, calling him the time-traveling hipster. But of course, there's always someone ready to kill the vibe. Debunkers pointed out that the sunglasses were actually around in the 20s and 30s. The printed t-shirt is likely just a sweater with a Stitch logo, yada yada. And while the camera does look modern, compact cameras apparently did exist then. They just weren't super common, but I don't know. What do you all think?
First up is the 2030 Traveler. A time traveler known only as Noah claims to be from the year 2030. Now, this story I'm telling you is from 2017, so just keep that in mind. He turned up on the radio show Kyle and Jackie O and told them that he traveled multiple times in the past but was stuck in the present day. I usually went from like early 1999 to like 2018 around here, but when I got stuck, I was in the year 2017, he explained. So, how does he do it? I have many body implications and things all over myself, and I step in this giant dome and these things fire up, and basically a large electronic weight basically pushes you through time. It feels like you got electrocuted, he said. Now, one of the most shocking things was that he claims that us humans will be able to communicate with aliens. He said, "We've confirmed the existence of aliens, but they're not incredibly intelligent. Right now, the government has communication with them, but we don't know it. In the future, we actually are in contact with aliens that are just as smart as humans, although we have many more advancements over them, he said. Now, of course, his claims have attracted skepticism, and in response, he agreed to take a lie detector test on camera. He listed events he said will happen in the next 12 years, and then the interviewer asked if he was telling the truth, and the machine records that he is. I mean, I guess this guy is legit. Up next is the chain of events. TikTok user Eno Alarkic, who is a time traveler from 2671, has gained thousands of followers on the app by posting warnings about future events. In one video, Eno wrote, "Attention, I am a time traveler from the year 2671, and I'm here to warn you about these 5 dates to come. November 30th, 2022, the James Webb Telescope discovers a planet that is a mirrored version of Earth. January 1st, 2023, a plane flying over the Bermuda Triangle goes missing. March 3rd, 2023, a message is received all around the world that seems to have come from the ocean. May 15th, 2023, a 750 mega tsunami hits the California coast, mainly San Francisco. And June 18th, 2023, 7 people mysteriously fall from the sky, but there was nothing flying in that area." Now, how believable is this? Well, I don't really think any of this happened, but just the thoughts of these events even happening is chilling. Moving on to the alien invasion. On March 23, 2023, a time traveler who warned of an alien invasion claims that said extraterrestrials had arrived on Earth and abducted 8,000 Earthlings. The champion has arrived to bring 8,000 people to another planet, they said. The so-called time traveler warned of a very hostile alien species known as the Distance that are coming to take back the Earth. It's a fight we will not win. They claim that the champions were looking for the best engineers, scientists, doctors, and leaders, and these 8,000 people are what keep the human species alive from inside and outside threats. Thankfully though, they add, "I want you all to know that you are safe, and I'm trying to warn you of what's to come." Now, last year we were having all those weird UFO sightings. Could those have been related to this incident they're talking about? I don't know, maybe. Now we have the dangers of technology. A time traveler claims to have come back from the future to warn us all of an impending apocalypse, humans versus technology. They said there was one huge computer controlling everything, which is not controlled by a person, but makes all demands and decisions itself. Apparently the computer had the power to destroy the entire planet at once. So did this person really just confirm that we live in a simulation? I think so. Now, speaking to the camera, the time traveler who had his voice and identity changed to protect himself said, "I was not born here, I was born in 3258 on December 1st in the European Empire." Now, the time traveler explained that he was drafted into the army at 18 and wore a uniform made of gold and saw everything that happened in 3260. He said there were not only robots, they were very clever and can take the decisions communicated with each other. He said the war began on September 21st, 33,000 when he was 42, and that there has never been such a war on the planet. It was fateful and tragic for all people all over the world. Now, I'm not gonna lie guys, I feel like this is plausible and makes me scared, but I won't be alive in 33,000, so I don't really have to worry. Now let's talk about the alien war. A time traveler from the year 2858 has claimed the world will end in 2038 during a war with an alien species that has apparently already invaded Earth. A mysterious social media user who claims to be a time traveler from the year 2858 has claimed to know how the world is going to end. The user claims that aliens have come to Earth to take over the planet, but the war apparently won't start until 2024. Now, guys, let me remind you that we are in 2024 right now. They said the first war will begin in early 2024 and will end in 2038, with the Earth being destroyed. Captioning the clip, they added, "Another species of aliens save us, but not the planet." The first being that everyone would dream of an alien invasion by a species called the Zels on February 28th, before the actual invasion, which was supposedly meant to take place on March 2nd. Now, people took to the comments to debate whether the alleged warnings could come true or not. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Catastrophic events are next. A time traveler from the year 3036 has left us some scary messages about the future. In a series of videos posted on his channel, the mysterious traveler claims the world's population in 3036 will reach record levels, with domestic animals such as cats and dogs considered exotic. Now, he also warned of something called the Big Blackout. The Big Blackout, if I'm not mistaken, happens in December 2052. Basically, everything goes dark for an upward of 5 years, the internet, the power, it all gets disconnected on account of what's called the terrors, but many speculate otherwise. Anyway, 5 years, it's turmoil, riots, you name it, it's pretty much the worst of times. It takes them upwards to 20 years to get the power back online, and even then it's absolute chaos. Now he also added, "You're as free as you're ever gonna get right now," he said, staring directly back into the camera. "These are considered the last days of freedom. Your kids won't even see it, so suck it up, because as simple-minded as your time period is, you got it pretty good, you just don't know it." Yeah, that is scary. I do not like that. Then we have the end of humanity. A TikToker that goes by Javier claims to be a time traveler. Javier's first video, posted in February 2021, depicts scenes throughout the city of Valencia, Spain that look relatively normal, except for one fact: the city appears to be completely void of people. In the video, which has been viewed over 7 million times, he claims to be a time traveler from the year 2027. He says that by then humanity will have gone extinct. A translation of the text within the video describes the eerie scene. Nobody in shopping malls, nobody on the streets. In a video posted soon after, he adds, "I keep trying to find human life, I'm starting to lose hope." Now, what happens to humans, he doesn't say, but 2027 isn't too far away, and we have to prevent whatever he claims will happen. On to the time travel program. A disguised woman who has introduced herself as Mia claims to have been recruited into a secret US time travel program before she finished high school. The alleged time traveler said she was offered good money to travel nearly 600 years into the future, where the world is completely different to how we know it today. Allegedly, the world faces the irreparable consequences of climate change, the rise of artificial intelligence, and aliens settling on Earth. Now this seems realistic. Now by the year 2600, the concept of independent nations will cease to exist, and humans will be ruled over by a world government run by AI. At the same time, humans will supposedly live in 11 megacities spread across the globe, where they will coexist with smart robots and aliens. The time traveler said, "I visited the year 2600, and it's very hard to explain to you what it was like because it's so different from the world we live in today. I saw robots, aliens, and human beings all living together in peace." And she added that, "I talked to people from this time and they told me how the world had changed. They said that the red sky was caused by global warming and that they all had microchips in them that made them smarter than their brains normally were. They said countries no longer existed and that the whole world was governed by AI." Yeah, that sounds terrifying. Next up, we have Trevor the Time Traveler. Self-proclaimed Trevor the Time Traveler is from the year 2049, and he claims to know when World War III will break out. He claims to be visiting from over 2 decades into our future in search of his pal Roger, aka Kronos. But while on his so-called mission, he stopped to make videos warning people of what's to come, with claims about catastrophic events from aliens to natural disasters. However, among these warnings, Trevor claimed to know when World War III would break out and shared information to his followers. In a clip, Trevor wrote, "Here are 3 dates that something terrible is going to happen. Remember this date: February 21st, 2024, something very big will happen. May 29th, 2030, a 3rd World War will start, lasting 7 years between the North and South. And 2037, the war ends and the second baby boom happens, growing the population too high." And last on our list is that the US is destroyed. A TikTok time traveler posted a video saying, "I'm a real time traveler from the year 2236, and I've come to a date and time to warn you about upcoming events in the next few years," they wrote. They said in 2022, scientists discover a way to bring back the megalodon shark through using its DNA, and they create a real megalodon in 2023, and surprisingly nothing goes wrong. In 2025, scientists discover signs of life on 2 different planets, and they're proven to be more advanced than humans, they predicted. A meteor will come down to Earth in 2034 and will wipe out half of America, they said, and the alleged time traveler suggests that 50% of the US would be destroyed in just 12 years. The self-confessed Time Lord made another forecast for the upcoming decade, as they predicted the Maui dolphin will become extinct. Now this isn't all. The TikToker also claimed that Disney will buy another large film studio, and one of the largest tornadoes will hit North America, causing many casualties. Now, while we don't know if the Meg is back yet, I think this is believable. We'll also just have to wait until 2025 to see if they're right.
Alright, we're going to start things off with John Titor. This individual claimed to be a time traveler from the year 2036. So in 2000, posts started showing up on various online forums by a man known as John Titor, sharing detailed accounts of his time travel experiences and predictions about the future. According to Titor, he was a soldier sent back in time to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which he claimed was necessary to debug various computer systems in his future. He provided technical details about the time machine he used, describing it as a stationary mass temporal displacement unit powered by two top-spin dual positive singularities. Titor also claimed that he traveled back to the year 1975 before making a pit stop in the early 2000s. Included in this series of posts were predictions about future events, including some ominous warnings about the impending collapse of society. Titor wrote that there would be a World War III and claimed that it would result in widespread chaos, with cities becoming uninhabitable and governments collapsing. You know what? I appreciate how creative this guy is. I'm actually very entertained by it. Good job on John Titor's part, even though that's most likely very much not his real name. Alright, next up we have Edgar Cayce, often referred to as the Sleeping Prophet. He was an American psychic who did most of his work in the early to mid 1900s. He was known for entering into this deep, trance-like state while giving readings on a wide range of topics like health, spirituality, Atlantis for some reason came up a lot, and of course future events. Now, he didn't explicitly discuss time travel, but he did describe his consciousness leaving his body, combining this with future prophecies, and that's basically traveling in time. Casey's predictions often revolved around a concept he referred to as the Earth changes. According to his readings, these changes were geological and environmental shifts that would happen in the future, leading to problems. Some of his predictions included the shifting of the Earth's axis, which would result in changes in climate and sea levels. He also spoke of societal and political catastrophe, saying the only way to avoid it was through spiritual awakening and moral development as a society to help mitigate the severity of these events. Alright, we're following that up with a pretty incredible man. A man who's not only traveled through time, future, and past, but has also traveled through space, making multiple trips to and from Mars. Ladies and gentlemen of Most Amazing Top 10, please give a warm and enthusiastic round of claps to none other than Andrew Basiago. Basiago claims to have been a participant in a secretive government project involved in time travel as a young boy. It was called Project Pegasus, which he says was developed by the United States government in the 60s and 70s. According to him, the project involved teleportation and time travel experiments, and he claims to have been sent to various points in the past and future. One of Basiago's most sensational claims is that he was sent back in time to witness historical events, including the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln in 1863. He's also talked about how he traveled to the future and saw potential catastrophic events, including a vision of a devastated Washington, D.C. Basiago's accounts involve the use of a device called a chronovisor, which I love, and a teleportation technology known as teleporters. He also describes these technologies as being capable of manipulating time and space, allowing folks to travel to different eras and locations instantaneously. So if you want to learn more about these time travel events, just ask Barack Obama, because apparently he was right there with Basiago for some of these time travel trips. Let's throw a witch into the mix, shall we? Mother Shipton. One tale goes that her mother Agatha was a witch herself and summoned the devil before her to bring her a child. And that child was Ursula Southill, aka Mother Shipton, who instead of crying like most babies when she was born, made an unsettling cackling sound because she was a half and half. Dad was a devil, mom was a witch. Bit of a nasty shock for everyone when they found out. She lived in the 16th century, and her predictions, which were often in the form of rhymes, have been studied and analyzed for centuries. Her verses are filled with vivid imagery and poetic language. She prophesies technological advancements, political changes, and horrible natural disasters. She's said to have predicted the invention of cars, submarines, and even airplanes. But she also made vague predictions about the end times. The original date was 1821, which obviously didn't come true, unless we're all just living in some Matrix-style computer simulation or something. So the end of the world date keeps being reassessed and bumped forward. Don't worry though, guys. Things will all come crashing down eventually. Next up, we have Harold Camping, a former Christian radio evangelist. This guy used his mind to travel to the future so often, they just kept fumbling the dates of his doomsday predictions and had to keep reassessing and, again, bumping them up. Unfortunately though, everything just kept on being okay. First he said the world was going to end in early September of 94. It didn't, but he was adamant that 94 was going to be the year and reassessed and realized, oh wait, it's actually end of September. Sorry, 29th, not the 6th. Then he bumped it up to October and so on. But you know what? I can't imagine being clairvoyant is very easy on the brain. It must be a bit confusing and overwhelming to the senses. Anyway, then he said Christ was going to return on May 21st of 2011, which was a good thing for him and his followers, but bad for everyone else, of course, as the pitiful non-believers were going to be suffering in eternal torment. It was a very exciting time, but sadly, May 21st passed on without any horrific suffering, on a mass scale anyway. I guess somebody's suffering every day. So Harold Camping, being the incredible clairvoyant wizard that he was, said, well, the spiritual judgment, that happened on May 21st. We've all been assessed, getting everyone's paperwork together, but get excited, folks. October, that's when the physical rapture is gonna happen. And it didn't. And apparently Camping was clairvoyant enough to know it too, because he quit working on the radio station just a few days before this apparent biblical apocalypse was set to take place. If there's two things that seem to go together like chocolate and peanut butter, it's time travel and space travel. And that's exactly why I have Heaven's Gate cult leader Marshall Applewhite on the list. This guy firmly believed the world was coming to an end and that the only way to survive was to ascend to a higher plane of existence by shedding the physical form and reaching the very creatively titled Next Level, where he and his followers would live a happy, transcendent existence in space. Most of you know how this went. Applewhite and the rest of the Heaven's Gate cult donned their uniforms, complete with armbands reading Heaven's Gate Away Team, and consumed heavy amounts of a certain substance, washing it down with a vodka, before suffocating themselves with plastic bags over their head. I'm not really sure why they needed the uniforms, seeing as the whole point was they were shedding their physical forms, but who am I, right? You know? Rudolf Steiner, this guy was the founder of a spiritual movement called anthroposophy. His teachings delved into the nature of existence, human consciousness, and the spiritual world in general. His philosophy often touched on the idea of spiritual evolution and the cyclical nature of existence. He often discussed reincarnation in his work, meaning that, according to him, people go through multiple lifetimes to learn and evolve spiritually, so it may not be time travel in a conventional sense, but it does imply a journey through time on a more spiritual level. He also spoke about the idea that humanity is on a path of development, and our collective actions and choices play a big role in shaping the future, and a major consequence of humanity not developing spiritually, again, according to him, meant that a very dark future was ahead. Next on the list is David Meade. This guy is a conspiracy theorist and author who's made a number of predictions about an impending apocalypse, mostly linking it to a planet called Nibiru, or Planet X. Meade, who identifies as a Christian numerologist, claimed to have uncovered hidden codes within the Bible, using them to predict specific celestial events. His predictions have focused on the alignment of celestial bodies and certain numerical calculations that point to a catastrophic collision between Earth and Planet X. I remember hearing a lot about this doomsday prediction leading up to 2012. That was a big year for end of the world predictions. Once again, didn't pan out though. Next up, we have David Icke. David Icke is a British conspiracy theorist known for promoting some pretty unconventional ideas. One of his most notorious claims involves the existence of shape-shifting reptilian humanoid aliens who, according to him, secretly control the world. You've heard of this stuff before, especially if you watch this channel. Icke suggests that many prominent figures, world leaders, and celebrities for the most part, are actually reptilians in disguise. The idea that powerful figures are actually reptilian aliens manipulating humanity has become a pretty well-known conspiracy theory at this point, and some people really believe it, like wholeheartedly. Icke has also made plenty of predictions about the end of the world, and as well as other, global conspiracies. He's talked about how the global elite, working in collaboration with these supposed reptilian beings, are orchestrating events to control and manipulate the world, and of course, they don't have our best intentions in mind. I guess his publisher might have been one of these reptilians, because at a certain point, apparently he was just like, no more of this. I can't publish any of these books anymore. So now he just self-publishes. He's got like tons of books about this stuff. It's nuts. Finally, though, we have Baba Vanga. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you've probably heard of this lady before. She's made all kinds of horrific predictions about the future, some of which were pretty eerily accurate. For those of you who aren't aware, though, Baba Vanga was a Bulgarian mystic and clairvoyant born in 1911 and died in 1996. She became famous for her apparent ability to make predictions about the future, and a good number of these predictions were pretty bad. Her predictions were wide-ranging, covering global events, natural disasters. One of her biggest apocalyptic predictions was that the world would end in the 51st century, but she didn't really give a lot of explicit detail about how that would occur, so good luck to us trying to avoid it. Similar to Nostradamus, her prophecies were usually a bit on the cryptic side, open to interpretation. And we're starting off our list with a traveler who has some pretty bad news for animal lovers out there. John, a self-proclaimed time traveler, claims to have actually come from the year 4000 and traveled back in time with some interesting details about the future. Apparently, in the year 4000, technology will have advanced to such an extent that artificial intelligence dominates most of the world. He describes a world where AI merges with daily human activity, leading to a new era where biological and artificial entities coexist almost seamlessly. Seems like this is going to happen way sooner than the year 4000 though. One of the more specific claims John makes is about the way corporations will evolve in the future. He states that all companies will be owned by a single mega corporation that uses AI to manage its operations. This corporation supposedly designs, builds, and controls robots that perform nearly all types of jobs, pushing humans out of the workforce. According to John, the result is a society where human labor is no longer necessary and robots handle most tasks. John also notes that these advancements in AI and robotics lead to changes in the environment and the social structure of society. He also states that pets like cats and dogs won't be a thing anymore, and that all birds were destroyed in order to prevent them from colliding with flying cars. Aren't there a lot more things we could collide with, like driving normal cars, than like up in the sky? Why don't we destroy everything in our path, already? I don't know. That's an odd one. Next up, we have a man named William Taylor, who has some pretty wild things to say about the future, and interesting side note, he also passed a lie detector test, apparently. Now, I know lie detector tests aren't always foolproof, but not many people who claim to have traveled to the future have gone through any kind of test like that. So if that is true about the test, I don't know, that's kind of interesting. In 2018, a man named William Taylor claimed to have been part of a British intelligence project in which he traveled all the way to the year 8973. And he said that things were, or will be, actually pretty good in the distant future, so good in fact that he didn't even want to leave and come back to this time. Now, the only thing is that humans won't exist anymore, not the way we do currently anyway. Instead, a species of human-robot hybrids will populate the Earth, but no disease or crime will plague it, and these beings experience eternal life. Taylor also revealed some other intriguing information, like how time travel has actually been used by world governments since 1981. The technology was apparently reverse engineered from alien spacecrafts. A TikTok channel called Real TikTok Time Traveler started posting some pretty outlandish videos in 2022, mainly because this anonymous user claimed to be a time traveler. Is a channel the correct term when it comes to TikTok, by the way? Page? Like, do you say just like user? I'm very out of touch. I don't know where I am. Help me. But they've posted tons of videos making all kinds of claims about what the future holds, most of it pretty dark, because that's what people just love gobbling up. They claim to be from the year 2236 and mostly post about events that will be playing out over the next 10 years. Some of their standouts include, in 2025, scientists discovering signs of life on 2 different planets that are proven to be more advanced than humans, and a meteor coming down to Earth in 2034 that will wipe out half of America. So look forward to that. Alaric goes by the handle Radiant Time Traveler on TikTok and has shared some pretty grave warnings about the future. He claims to be from the year 2671, and in his latest video, he lets the fine people of the internet know about some of the notable stuff that's going to go down in the remainder of 2024. Keep May 15th marked down in your calendar because an alien race is going to show up on Earth and transport 10,000 people to another planet. But aliens coming to Earth isn't going to catch our attention for long though, because May 27th marks the beginning of the next American Civil War, which will then lead to the outbreak of World War III. But don't be too worried about your hands or feet being blown off in the war, because less than a month after the fighting kicks off, a new fruit will be discovered that helps regrow lost limbs. Also in June, the very first human-chimp hybrid will be created, and June 19th also sees a new type of storm form called a mind storm, which causes people to lose their minds and go on violent rampages. As if World War III isn't enough already. Now we have a 28 days later situation on our hands. But the best part of it all, summer, it's really gonna end with a bang. When real-life dragons are discovered in the Rocky Mountains. They fly, they breathe fire, and they even speak English. Yes, specifically English. Sorry to everyone else in the world. You'll just have to watch these dragons fly around while we chat with them. Next on the list we have Darkness Time Traveler. Now, our boy Darkness has a pretty ominous bio on his TikTok channel / page / whatever you call it, reading, "Darkness is coming. The Shadow Network is almost here," from the year 2858. The Shadow Network, Jankies. I'm guessing that's not just a TV station that shows clips of shadows 24/7. In Darkness's latest video, they claim that the solar eclipse that just went down last week was actually a smokescreen for a bunch of alien beings to fly down to Earth on meteors, obscured from our view because of the eclipse. Because apparently we wouldn't be able to see meteors flying down the Earth because it's a little bit darker out. These alien beings are known by many other alien species though as the Planet Enders, or Endids. They spell it two different ways in the video. Gonna guess they wrote the text in haste though to make sure we all got this information in time. People from 2858 can make spelling mistakes too. Anyway, the Planet Endids have invaded a plethora of planets across the galaxy, and aside from their warmongering, violent ways, they've also brought a disease with them to Earth, the same disease that wiped out the alien beings who apparently once lived on Mars. So these invaders have been among us for about a week now at the time of this recording, awaiting the perfect time to strike. Because you guys are kind of watching this in the future, at least compared to me, why don't you let me know down in the comments what's going on. Next, we have the Greek military time travelers. In 2017, an anonymous man claimed that after serving in the Greek military for 6 years, he was invited in 2013 to participate in a top secret time travel project. According to his account, this project saw him travel to the year 3207, a journey that lasted 2 days. From his perspective, about a month after his story came out, another anonymous man from Greece also said he was a student when in 2008 he was reportedly approached by a professor who offered him the chance to be part of a time travel experiment. He accepted and claimed to have been sent to the year 10,000. The purpose of this experiment was said to be related to gaining knowledge about a future war between humans and artificial intelligence. Again, I think they sent him way too far into the future if it's a war between humans and artificial intelligence. 10,000? That's pretty far up there. Maybe there's something wrong with the machine. And also, according to some other time travelers we've discussed already, that's a war we won't be winning. They could have just asked them, saved the whole trip. Next up we have Athos Salome, who's now being referred to as the modern day Nostradamus. He's made all these predictions about the future, a lot of them very similar to the type of stuff we've heard of before when it comes to end of the world conspiracies, alien contact coming soon, AI reaching a new level of awareness and taking over, more deadly natural disasters, a big war, soon we'll be able to communicate with the dead through artificial intelligence technology, all your standard stuff. But what I find really genuinely interesting and kind of creepy about this whole thing is that I'm honestly not even sure if this Athos Salome guy is a real person. I've seen plenty of pictures of him, and I've read news articles quoting things he's apparently said. I've seen other people in videos quoting things he said. I'm one of them. We have a whole video on this guy on the channel. Check it out after this. But I haven't seen footage of him actually moving his mouth and talking on video. I've seen like one, but it's like a narrator over top of it and it's like low quality. It could be AI generated. And I mean, just look at him. Doesn't he look like he could be an AI generated image to you? I mean, all these news articles say he makes TikTok videos, but I can't find them. So what the hell is actually going on here? Who is Athos Salome? Is there a real person behind all these predictions, or is this some kind of artificially created thing? And if so, who created it?
Starting off this countdown, we have the intergalactic war. As I mentioned in part 1 of this video, there are a number of people on TikTok who claim to be time travelers from the future, and they are using TikTok to warn people what's to come. And according to TikToker Aesthetic Time Warper, on August 11th of this year, aliens will come down in their crafts and land on Earth. He continued on saying that eventually an intergalactic war will take place. Ain't that great? I hope the military starts working on space weapons because I feel like aliens would easily win this battle. Who knows what weapons of mass destruction they have. Moving on to number 9, we have the Civil War. One of the most famous time travelers out there would have to be John Titor. For those of you who don't know, John Titor is a supposed time traveler from the year 2036 and he's on a military mission. He first made his appearance on the internet in the 2000s on online forums. He would post about predictions or share stories from the future. But in 2001, Titor disappeared from online and was never heard from again. Now, one of the reasons John went back in time was to warn the world of impending doom. He said that in 2004, the US would face civil unrest surrounding the presidential election. He said that every month this conflict would get worse and worse, and then there would be a full-blown civil war by 2008. He predicted that as a result of the war, the US would split into 5 regions. Each region would have their own military objective, hence why they decided to split. According to him, the war would end in 2015 and would be followed by World War III. Now obviously this didn't happen, thankfully, but Titor argued that not only was he warning us about the upcoming wars, but he was trying to prevent it from happening. So maybe he did. In our 8th spot, we have the hurricane. According to another TikTok time traveler, on June 28th of 2022, a very disastrous and dangerous hurricane will hit between Georgia and South Carolina. He said that this one will be one of the 5 most deadliest hurricanes we have faced yet. Now, one of the worst hurricanes in the world would be the 1900 Galveston hurricane, also known as the Great Galveston Hurricane or the Great Storm of 1900. This was the deadliest natural disaster in United States history, and around 8,000 people died as a result. So let's hope that this does not happen. I did not have hurricanes on my summer 2022 bucket list. In our 7th spot today, we have the earthquake. Honestly, all of these predictions seem to be geared towards the US, and I'm in Canada, so I'm out here chilling. But all of my American fans, maybe consider moving. So about a month after the massive hurricane will hit, a strong earthquake will strike. How fun! This time traveler claims that on July 23rd of 2022, the strongest earthquake in history will hit LA and will create a giant wave. Again, let's hope that this does not come true, but I'm happy I'm living in Canada. Moving on to number 6, we have 4 Vesta. 4 Vesta is the name of a meteor said to be headed straight to Earth. This anonymous time traveler has come to this year to warn people what is going to happen this year. And they claim that in September, a meteor called 4 Vesta will pass by Earth and almost hit the coast of China. Now, good news. He said almost, meaning we'll be safe. But a number of other time travelers say that 2022 will be filled with close calls and near misses. Hopefully, we never have to worry about one actually crashing down. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the superhumans. That one time traveler, that's literally his name, on TikTok went viral after having a strange prediction for December of 2021. First off, he claims to be a time traveler from the year 2485. According to him, he said that on December 20th of 2021, 8 humans will receive superpowers from energy waves of the sun. But then, by Christmas Day, something big will happen that will shock the world and change the way humans live forever. Now, those dates have come and gone, and I don't know about you, but I wasn't one of the lucky 8 to get superpowers. Also, nothing happened on Christmas that changed our lives forever. Just that air fryer I got, that things made life so much easier. In In our fourth spot today we have the bunker. Now there are top secret bunkers all over the world. You got doomsday bunkers, military bunkers, you name it. But apparently in 2024, a 35,000-year-old bunker will be discovered. The time traveler didn't mention exactly when or how, but he did say that it will be found in Argentina. What is in this bunker, you ask? Well, according to them, the bunker has many secrets inside of it, such as ancient times, technologies, hidden codes, and more. I mean, it won't be of much use to us, but I'm sure it will be of peak interest to scientists and archaeologists. Moving on to number 3, we have the green sky. The TikTok user That One Time Traveler has made a number of interesting predictions, this next one being one of them. They said that we all must remember August 20th of 2022. So mark it in your calendars right now, folks, because on this day, the sky across all of Earth will become a bright green color, and that is due to the fact that a planet not too far from Earth will explode. The planet is apparently full of green rocks, and so its explosion will turn our sky green. He continued on saying that the green sky will last for about 5 hours before slowly fading back to blue. Now, a green sky seems pretty cool, as long as it's like a light green. You know, sage is a very nice color. Forest green, on the other hand, maybe not. Hey, but at least he didn't say that the green space rocks will come flying towards Earth, so that's positive. Coming in at number 2, we have the year 2714. According to this next time traveler, who has not yet revealed their name or identity, they are from the year 2714. Now, chances are we won't be around for that year. I mean, unless scientists come up with some life-preserving device, but still, who would want to be around for thousands of years? I'm sorry, not me. Anyways, if you want to know what life will be like in 2714, then here you go. According to this time traveler, in the year 2714, an alternate universe will be found, and same with a human fish species. So I'm thinking mermaids, okay? We'll find out that mermaids are real by 2714. That's kind of sad though, like I want to be around to meet them. Honestly, as a kid, I wanted to be a mermaid so badly. Am I the only one? Let me know in the comments below. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Y2K disaster. Now, John Teeter had a lot of predictions for the early 2000s. Not only would there be war, but he posted some weird warning message that had people worried that the end was near. The message he posted went as so, and I quote, "If you want to survive the coming conflict, learn to let fear keep you alive. Too many of you turn off the life-saving natural instincts and premonitions when it's convenient. The same person who has 5 deadbolt locks on their door will think nothing about getting into a parking garage elevator with a total stranger. If you want to live, keep your eyes open." I mean, it's good advice, but also, why was he warning people? He was telling people to be cautious and saying only some people will survive. Now, a couple of disasters did occur in the early 2000s, but we don't know if they were what John was warning us about or just a coincidence.
Number 10. What even is a multiverse? I think a good place to start with this list is with something I can actually explain. When the universe first came into being during the Big Bang, it was followed by a massive infinite expansion, which we can prove as we can see it happening. When we look out into the universe, what we see is the past as the light makes its way to us. So, if we look out, say, 5 light years into space, what we see will be 5 years in the past over there. Astronomers with our modern technology are able to see out to a distance of about 42 billion light years into the universe, seeing events in places of space as they happened 42 billion years in the past. But we have no reason to believe the universe doesn't go further and infinitely. As the expansion continues infinitely with no stop, then things are bound to repeat themselves. Events will occur in the exact same form or fashion as they have before, like the formation of the Earth in a galaxy that is basically the same as ours. Life would occur in the same way, and decisions by those living beings would occur in the same way, leading to another you, or another me, or another us. But they would also occur in different ways as well. Every decision you make could be made a different way, and those infinitely repeated versions of you that exist would make those same or different decisions, leading to an infinite number of universes with planets just like this one with infinite different variations of history. This makes a multiverse. Theoretically, if someone is to travel backwards in time, they would now be existing in one of these alternate versions of history, one of these infinite alternate worlds. Number 9. The Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect, sometimes referred to as the Mandela Phenomenon, is an instance of false collective memory, a situation in which a large mass of people believes that an event occurred when it did not. It was named for a collected belief from a small group of people that Nelson Mandela had passed away in the 1980s in a South African prison, when he actually passed away in 2013. Some people even remembered seeing news coverage of his death as well as a speech by his widow. But the thing is, that was nowhere near the only instance of the Mandela Effect. One of the most well-known examples of the Mandela Effect is the collective memory of a movie called Shazam that starred the actor/comedian Sinbad in the 1990s, when actually no movie exists at all. While this could be false memories or your brain filling in gaps, another big theory for why this happens originates from quantum physics and relates to the idea that rather than one timeline of events, alternate realities or universes may be taking place and mixing with our timeline. This theory is suggesting that the groups of people having the same memories is because the timeline has been altered as we shift between these different realities. While we can't prove this theory right, we can't prove it wrong either, and so it has remained a popular answer for an interesting phenomenon. Number 8. Doppelgangers of the mind. Ooh. Autoscopic phenomena. It comes from autoscopy. In Greek, autos means self and scopio means looking at. The simplest form of an autoscopic phenomenon involves feeling the presence of someone next to you without actually seeing a double or anyone there. But the doppelganger effect takes the phenomenon a step further, so that a person may hallucinate that they are actually seeing and interacting with another version of themselves. But probably the most widely experienced and best known form of autoscopic phenomena is the out-of-body experience, seeing yourself from the outside perspective. They are all technically hallucinations caused by malfunctions in brain mechanisms that root us in the here and now, but just like with the Mandela Effect, some people believe these hallucinations can also be explained with both time travel and or the multiverse. For example, you wake up out of bed but you can still see yourself laying in bed fast asleep. Some believe this is caused by your brain blurring the lines between alternate universes, or that perhaps you traveled forward in time and are now looking back at an alternate timeline of you that is still laying in bed. Now that may sound wacky, but what about when there are actually two people in the world who look basically the same? Number 7. Lookalikes. So, do you remember in my first point how I was explaining that over the course of the limitless expansion of space, things are bound to repeat themselves? Well, we kind of have a pretty good example of that on Earth. Over time and through history, and even sometimes at the same time, there will be people on Earth that look shockingly similar to one another. We have all seen the photos of celebrities being compared to old paintings of people from the past, or two people meeting on an airplane that look practically identical despite not being related at all. The chances of even one of us being created exactly how we are so small that every person alive is pretty much a miracle. That's a positive. So to find someone else who has been created in such a shockingly similar way to you is pretty insane. For some, this just shows that building blocks can repeat themselves within the human species at different points throughout time, and if we expand that out to our universe, it just makes sense that that same kind of thing happens with universes. Doppelganger universes making a multiverse. Number 6. Flying. A lot of parallel universe and time travel stories seem to do with flying, and I've got one such story for you here. And if you stick around for point number 1, there's another interesting event that I think you'd find pretty cool. So, back in 1935, when he was still a wing commander, Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard was instructed to inspect an inactive airbase located in Drem, near Edinburgh, in Scotland. While flying over it, Sir Goddard found the airbase to be in a poor state, with cattle grazing on the grass that had overgrown. It was in complete rack shambles. Later on, while flying, he got into a bit of harsh weather, and to avoid an accident, Goddard decided to fly back to the airbase till the weather cleared out a bit. Now, as he approached the airbase, the rain oddly and very abruptly gave way to bright sunshine, but the real shock came when he also noticed that the airbase was now in mint condition and in use. He saw mechanics wearing blue overalls working on the yellow planes parked on the runway, and Sir Goddard failed to recognize any one of these planes in the base as any that were in use at this time. Instant renovation of the place couldn't have been possible, and the personnel weren't even wearing the khaki-colored uniforms that were the norm at that time. Also, the Air Force painted all their planes in silver, not yellow. The real kicker came 4 years later though. Europe was war-torn and he happened to visit Drem again, but this time he saw everything he saw 4 years ago in 1935. Same people in the same blue overalls servicing the same yellow planes, and he even found the plane that he couldn't recognize before, a Miles Magister. And you can figure out how that means multiverses or time travel. Number 4, the streets of Liverpool. There are way too many strange stories about the streets of Liverpool that seem almost unexplainable. Like visiting those streets is stepping into an alternate universe or an alternate time. But we're going to talk about one specific example. In 2011, a woman went to a mother care store to buy a gift for her sister. While checking out, her credit card was turned down and she went back home and complained to her mother. Then they both returned to the place where the store was, but there was no store. It was actually a bank. Now, either this woman is full of it and just didn't want to get her sister a gift, so she came up with some crazy story to explain that away, or, stick with me here, or she stepped into a multiversal vortex and traveled to an alternate time or universe where the store did exist, only to leave it back to our universe, which is where she told her mom and returned to the same location in our universe or timeline, but it was a bank. Or she just forgot where the store was, or she's just lying. I'm gonna let you guys decide, you figure it out. Number 3, deja vu. Deja vu is just one of those things that we struggle to describe. Sometimes an explanation of instances of real deja vu comes in the form of short mental time trips to the future. Now you could just say it is an emotional thing, some feeling of I have already experienced this, a close feeling of familiarity for a scene that's just happening. This could be caused by experiencing a similar event that has already happened in your past. You're immediately and maybe subconsciously entering pieces of knowledge about what will happen in the course of the next few seconds, minutes, or maybe even hours based on those things you experienced before, even if they weren't particularly important or memorable. But what about when those details you fill in are impossible to derive from your present knowledge because you haven't experienced them before? So you just know the layout of a city, although you have never been there in your entire life. You know what the person near you will say or do in the next minutes, verbatim sentences for example, which they have not said before. If you ask a neurologist about this, or any human perceptual, mental, or emotional phenomenon, then they will always have an explanation, and it's almost always to do with biochemistry in the human brain. But that answer is boring, and I'm going to go out on a whim here with the other people on Reddit and say that it's you mentally or subconsciously traveling to the future or to another universe to pick up information and relay it back to your brain. Boom! Number 2. What happens when you die? There are many theories about what happens when you finally bite the bullet, when we hit the hay for good, when we pass away. One theory has to do with the multiverse, and if it deals with the multiverse, then it kind of deals with time. The parallel universe theory claims that when we die, we will be living in the same universe as we were before, just in a different portion of space and time. But if we are now in a different portion of space and time than when we died, we had to have traveled time and space to a point where we didn't make the decisions or didn't experience the exact set of events that led to our demise. Now this is probably the most far-fetched moment from today because it deals with something we 100% cannot prove. But given the idea of so many different religions and beliefs believing in things like a world after our lives, like heaven where everything goes right, or reincarnation after death where we start again without a memory of our previous lives, it feels as though moving to a different portion of space and time, or creating a new personal timeline when ours is destroyed, would somewhat explain those things in some ways. I don't know. The kicker is, we won't ever know for sure, so give me your theories down below. And finally, in at number 1, the plane experiment. Now, we're gonna end today with a real world experiment of time that could actually prove something here. We are all traveling through time, all of us moving at 1 second per second. Cool. Or are we? According to Einstein's theory of relativity, the faster you travel, the slower you experience time. And this isn't really a theory anymore since some scientists have done some experiments to show that it's actually true. There was an experiment that used 2 clocks set to the exact same time. One clock stayed on Earth while the other flew in an airplane going in the same direction that Earth rotates. After the airplane flew around the world, scientists compared the 2 clocks. The clock on the fast-moving airplane was slightly behind the clock on the ground. So, the clock on the airplane was traveling slightly slower in time than 1 second per second. So, if that's the case, and this is where I go off the rails, if you were on that airplane when you arrived back on Earth, Are you now technically in an alternate time, aka a parallel world? Or were you in an alternate timeline while flying in the plane? You were moving at a different speed of time, so you were experiencing a different time, although slightly. Am I completely pulling everything I've said today out of my backside? The answer is maybe.
Starting off this countdown, we have the alternate universe. Now, this prediction is kind of, it's really out there. Pun not intended. So it was posted on TikTok by a creator who swears they're a time traveler from the future. And even if they were, why would they come back to this year? And why would they post on TikTok? Anyways, not the point. According to the time traveler, they predicted that in December of 2021, 3 teens will open a portal to an alternate universe. I don't know about you, but I didn't hear anything about this happening in real life, so I doubt it happened. Plus, he mentioned that the teens did this by using a T-Rex dinosaur egg. So I have many questions. Number 1, where did they get the T-Rex egg from? 2, how did they then use this egg to find another universe? In our 9th spot today, we have Atlantis. Apparently, in February of this year, we were supposed to find the lost city of Atlantis. Hey, maybe researchers did and they just don't want to share the news because then treasure hunters would be all over that and it would get destroyed. Not only did they find the city though, apparently they found a new species living there. They are a hybrid human-fish species, which I mean, doesn't that technically just make them mermaids? Like, human fish are mermaids. Come on now. I mean, H2O, just add water, great show. Aquamarine, great movie. I'd be down to meet or become a mermaid. In our 8th spot, we have Queen Elizabeth II. Now this one is pretty dark, but this next TikTok time traveler predicts that sometime in 2022, Queen Elizabeth II will sadly pass away. At this point, she is 96 years old, but honestly, she seems immortal. On April 21st, she just had her birthday and was spotted out and about, still doing quite well. So I can't see this happening anytime soon, plus I don't wish death upon anyone. In our 7th spot, we have the deadly tornado. Now, a number of time travelers have all said that in 2022 we will experience more extreme weather patterns. I kid you not. Famous seers and prophets Baba Vanga and Nostradamus both predicted this as well. So it's said that in 2022 the US will face the biggest and deadliest tornado ever recorded in history. It will be named Mammoth 8R. Now, Baba Vanga and Nostradamus didn't say we would face a tornado, but they did say that we would be faced with more natural disasters. And due to climate change and global warming, scientists have also predicted that this year and the following years we will experience more extreme and disastrous weather as well. Moving on to number 6, we have the Arctic Ocean. Here we have another very bizarre prediction for the future. But apparently on October 27th of 2023, a chosen group of scientists will be sent on a secret mission to explore an abnormal hole in the Arctic Ocean. We don't know how the hole opened or what's inside. But while exploring, scientists will hear a weird and terrifying sound coming out of the hole. They will record it and then give this recording over to the government. However, the government will hide this finding from us. Clearly, they have no clue what this sound is from, but are scared that it will alarm us and cause a mass panic. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the pyramids. Okay, so we all know that some people believe that the pyramids were built by aliens, right? Well, in 2026, something weird and intergalactic is going to happen to the pyramids, and it might be done by aliens. So on June 6th of 2026, this time traveler believes that the pyramids will randomly light up and their light beams will point up towards the moon. That's before they levitate up towards the moon. I really don't know, okay? It's confusing. Not only that, but we will be told to turn off all of our lights and to stay inside our homes. We will be forced to lock ourselves up and secure all windows and doors. We are also told not to go out or even look outside. The earth will be in complete darkness for 3 days. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of questions. Like, why do we have to lock ourselves away? Like, what's gonna happen? And how are the pyramids just gonna levitate? And why? What does this all mean? In our 4th spot, we have the flood. According to another TikTok self-proclaimed time traveler, in the next 30 years, a huge flood will devastate the entire world. They estimate the death toll to be 100 million people. which is insane. But this is another prediction that Nostradamus and Baba Vanga also predicted. They both said that floods would happen in the upcoming years and devastate us all. Nostradamus predicted, and I quote, "We shall see the water rising and the earth falling under it." It's pretty straightforward. Sea levels are rising, and soon it will get so bad that cities will be flooded all around the world. But for 100 million people to be affected, that means the flood is going to be massive. Our food supply ruined and millions out of homes. Moving on at number 3, we have the Bigfoot. So according to a time traveler from the year 2743, in 2022, the Bigfoot will make an appearance and people will finally find out that he's real and not just a hoax. Again, that's fine by me as long as he's friendly, and we don't cause him harm and he doesn't cause us any harm. Except you already know that scientists are going to want to capture him and then study him. In fact, just recently, a hiker stumbled upon a Bigfoot footprint. He uploaded a picture of it online and it was ruled that it was not a bear or a human print. So people think that it could be a real Bigfoot footprint. In our second spot, we had the massive sea creature. According to self-proclaimed time traveler Ari Yormani, on September 17th of this year, a huge sea creature bigger than the Megalodon is said to be discovered. Now, if you don't know, the Megalodon was a massive shark that used to lurk in our oceans. It was 59 feet long with a massive 7-foot wide jaw, and it weighed about 66,000 pounds to 143,000 pounds. So yeah, they were massive. Imagine something even bigger than that though. I mean, I can believe it, okay? We hardly have explored our oceans. We don't know what's really down there. There's probably thousands of creatures just waiting to be discovered. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the giant aliens. And of course, what's a time traveling video without some more aliens thrown into the mix? Turns out that just next month, we will discover aliens. It's said that on May 24th of 2022, aliens will come down to Earth and try to take over. As a result of the invasion, there will be an alien versus humans fight off. However, the aliens aren't what we always pictured them as. I don't know about you, but for aliens I picture like a short green dude that goes like, "We come in peace." According to this guy, aliens will be 7 feet tall and dark brown in color.
Celebrities. We love them, but have we loved them before? And by that I mean, have they traveled back in time and been prominent in the past, or perhaps will they continue to be prominent in the far, far future? Let's get into it. Starting off our list today with Christopher Lloyd, because if we're going to talk about celebrities time traveling, we have to include the celebrity who brought the concept of time travel into the mainstream of pop culture 39 years ago with the release of Back to the Future. That's right, it is entirely possible that not only does Christopher Lloyd play a time traveler, but that he actually is one too. Before you start calling me crazy in the comments, 1, remember you are the one who decided to click on this video, and 2, take a look at this. This being a side-by-side image of Christopher Lloyd and John C. Calhoun. John C. Calhoun being a vocal statesman from South Carolina who also served as the 7th Vice President of the United States from 1925 to 1932. The resemblance is uncanny, likely because they're not actually 2 separate men, but rather because Christopher Lloyd, as he is known today, really is John C. Calhoun, as he was known back in the 1800s. Next up, we have Justin Timberlake, teenage heartthrob, bad boy, crappy ex-boyfriend to Britney Spears, and possible time traveler? Turns out it's entirely possible that Timberlake has been breaking hearts for far longer than was once believed. Also, he might have, at one time, lived in Liverpool. I say that because of this. A side-by-side of Justin Timberlake and the mugshot of an unknown man working in the Liverpool mines far before Justin Timberlake was ever supposed to have been born. It's like that guy's his mirror, and his mirror is staring back at him. As for what the mine worker was charged with, I'm not sure, but I'm willing to bet it ain't nothing but a mistake. In sync, I think. No, Backstreet Boys. Sorry guys. Alright, moving on from music and television celebrities to celebrity activists. She's small, she's mighty, and she might have lived 124 years ago in 1898. It's Greta Thunberg. Before you start yelling, "How dare you make that assumption" at me through your computer screens, take a look at this. An image of a young woman who looks exactly like Greta and wears her hair incredibly similarly to Greta, cultivating the land in a way that Greta would have likely approved of alongside two unknown children. Okay, I'm not actually sure what they're doing in the photo, but I don't see any big polluting machinery anywhere in the photo, so I'd say it's probably Greta approved. Maybe because it is Greta. If this is true and Greta Thunberg really is a time traveler and she's seen the future, maybe we should start listening to her. Next up, we have Keanu Reeves, who has apparently lived many lives over many centuries. That's right, not only has he been in The Matrix, John Wick, Deep Web, The Whole Truth, Devil's Advocate, and so many other big films, apparently he has also been portrayed in paintings dating all the way back to 1530. Now, I'm going to show you a photo, but if it ends up being a bit too much to handle, don't worry, because there's a pill for that. It's either red or blue, I forget which. Anyways, take a look at this 1530 Italian painting of a man who is unknown, but not that unknown because it's clearly Keanu Reeves. You know who else is Keanu Reeves? This guy, Paul Monet, a popular French actor who lived during the late 19th and early 20th century, and because he's Keanu Reeves, also today in the 21st century. It's not a coincidence, it's Keanu. Next up, we've got Eddie Murphy. While some of you might know him from films such as Norbit, The Nutty Professor, Meet Dave, Tower Heist, Trading Places, Mr. Church, and Shrek, my personal favorite, other people know him as the classy man who dressed and photographed quite well during a time long before Eddie Murphy was supposedly born. Take a look. I mean, with the resemblance, it's more than clear as day that these two are one of a kind, probably because they are one man living across time. While this might seem perplexing, the real question here is, do you think the unknown classy man, as he is referred to on the internet, likes parfait? I mean, everybody likes parfait, and waffles, and boulders. That's a nice boulder. Next up, we've got Bruce Willis, star of Die Hard, The Sixth Sense, Glass, Unbreakable, Pulp Fiction, Split, Red, Armageddon, and an army general that was living in the late 19th and 20th century? Well, take a look. That's right, not only has Bruce Willis been awarded countless awards for film and television, including an Emmy, it is entirely possible that at one point Bruce Willis once went by the name Douglas MacArthur and was awarded many medals for providing exemplary service during his time serving as a general for the US military during World War II. Maybe one day he'll play his past self in a movie. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Next up, we have two more than lifelong friends, Daniel Radcliffe and Andy Samberg. Two great actors with great achievements who have apparently been around for a great deal of time, according to this photograph. A photo taken of the pair in 1978, the year Samberg was supposedly born, and 11 years before Radcliffe's supposed birth, found in an old high school yearbook. Give it up, guys. We know. You're a time traveler, Harry. And Andy's got a time machine in a box. That's a reference. Next up, we have a 19th century McConaughey. That's right, apparently this guy has been ripping through the fabric of space and time since long before Interstellar hit the big screen and the quest to return to Murph ensued. If you've seen the movie or any of these movies, maybe you'll get my references. Anyways, apparently he wasn't always a movie star. At one point he was this guy, just a simple pipe-smoking, bird-watching man from Alabama living, smoking, and watching in the 1800s. The man truly hasn't aged. I guess after so many years of just watching, McConaughey finally decided he'd rather be the watchee, and now he has an Oscar. Next up, not only has Jay-Z been around the block, but according to this photo, he's been around for an incredibly long time, since the 1930s at least, which is when this photo of this man, who looks an awful lot like Jay-Z, was taken in Harlem, not far from where Jay-Z supposedly grew up in Brooklyn. And when I say not far, I mean not far. Harlem to Brooklyn is only about a 50-minute drive, a 1-hour subway, a 1.5-hour bike ride, and a 4.5-hour walk. Why did I look all of that up? For you guys, of course. Considering the fact that this photo was taken in 1939 and Jay-Z supposedly wasn't born until 1964, I say he would have had plenty of time to get from Harlem to Brooklyn, and plenty of time to figure out the lyrics to Empire State of Mind. He's also been quoted saying, "I'm not afraid of dying," probably because he has a time machine that allowed him to go into the future and find the elixir of everlasting life, or something along those lines. And finally we have the speed round. First up, we've got Nick Cage, pictured in the 1800s living under an unknown alias. And then of course there is Johnny Depp, who looks exactly like someone's grandfather, probably because he traveled back in time to hook up with someone under 25, and he is whoever posted this photo's grandfather. It was anonymous on Reddit. Next up we have John Travolta and this guy, who is clearly just John Travolta living in the 1860s. Michael Jackson, who clearly traveled back in time to ancient Egypt, otherwise how the heck would this bust exist? Peter Dinklage obviously wanted a taste of medieval life, hence his appearances on Game of Thrones, and this painting of Sebastian de Mora painted in 1645. And finally, we have Mark Zuckerberg, who traveled all the way back to the 1600s to finally gain some respect as the King of Spain. The Philadelphia experiment, one of the creepiest, most mysterious incidents in history.
The government says it never happened, but is there some truth to this story involving time travel and teleportation?
Invisibility, force fields, teleporting, time travel, and the USS Eldridge. What do all 5 of these things have in common? If you said the Philadelphia experiment, gold star, you're correct. While it has yet to be definitively proven, the Philadelphia experiment took place in the late 1930s. The Navy had been working tirelessly on a way to make their warships undetectable to underwater magnetic mines by using electromagnetism technologies thought up by Einstein. Upon hearing about the technology and the idea of wrapping warships in electromagnetic coils, it is said that Nikola Tesla himself issued a warning to von Neumann, a physicist working on the project, saying that there was a great possibility the use of the coils might result in a personal problem. Despite the warning, Neumann and Einstein went ahead and decided to test their technology. It worked, but then they tested it again. This time the ship, in this case the USS Eldridge, became surrounded by a green ozone-laden haze before vanishing directly into thin air, and then turning up in Norfolk, Virginia, 250 miles away from where it was previously in Philadelphia. Not only that, but when the USS Eldridge arrived in Virginia, it was actually 10 minutes earlier in the day. 20 minutes after that, or 10 minutes from the ship's original disappearance time in Philadelphia, it reappeared back in Philly. Sounds like time travel teleportation to me.
Some think the Philadelphia experiment formed the basis for the Montauk project that came later, another secretive government project that's never officially been recognized, but for years there have been rumors about this program having existed. It all supposedly went down at Camp Hero, a decommissioned Air Force base in Montauk, New York. It's said that the project kicked off in the 70s with the government aiming to develop powerful psychological warfare techniques. The base reportedly housed a massive radar tower used to manipulate the human mind. According to some whistleblowers, there was a device known as the Montauk Chair, which was allegedly capable of unlocking psychic abilities. With this device, people could manifest objects out of thin air or even apparently travel through time. The most famous whistleblower is Preston Nichols, who claimed to have recovered memories of his involvement in these experiments. He detailed his experiences in a series of books about the project. The first one, the Montauk Project Experiments in Time, came out in 1992. And the entire series has been dubbed as science fiction, even though Nichols himself claims the books were not written as pure entertainment.
So, what happens to the crew of a ship that gets engulfed in green fog, teleported back and forth, and entangled with the likes of space-time? Well, it's not good. According to eyewitnesses, when the USS Eldridge reappeared in Philadelphia, crew members were suffering from 3rd and 4th degree burns, confusion, dizziness, disorientation, and even infusion. Infusion, as in certain members of the crew had literally somehow become fused into the ship's metal, and some actually never made it back at all. Those infused into the ship died in extreme physical, and one can only assume psychological pain. Others went insane. Which makes sense. I mean, how do you think your brain would react if you were serving in the US military in the 1930s and then all of a sudden the ship that you were on teleported twice to 2 places in 20 minutes, and then also found a bunch of your coworkers infused into a metal frame? You'd probably freak the hell out.
As Hannah said, some of the crew never made it back, so where did they go? Well, it's impossible to say for sure, especially if this ship really did teleport and travel through time. The possibilities here could be endless. When the USS Eldridge allegedly vanished from the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, some think that the sailors could have been instantaneously transported to a parallel dimension, a realm where the rules of time and space are entirely different from our own, and maybe some of the crew is still trapped there, like Captain Kirk in the Nexus, forever lost in this alternate universe. They may have also been flung into the distant past or future and are still, or were still, or will still be stuck there. Some believe the missing crew members didn't even disappear by accident, but were teleported to a secret military base where they were used in other future experiments. And here's a super creepy concept. Could the sailors have been phased out of our reality altogether, stuck in an in-between state, partially existing in our world but unable to actually interact with it? Kind of like ghosts.
The popularity of the Philadelphia experiment is really thanks to two special men, Morris K. Jessup and Carlos Allende, aka Carl Allen. Morris K. Jessup was a scientist with a master's in astronomy and also an author. By the 1930s, he had already published a very successful book, The Case for the UFO, Identifying Flying Objects, and that book had garnered the attention of many extraterrestrial enthusiasts, excited to finally have the words of a scientist back their claims of intelligent life forms living out in space. And of course, one of these excited enthusiasts just so happened to be Carlos Allende, who wrote to Jessup to inform him of the events that transpired on the day the Philadelphia experiment took place. He told Jessup all about the ship's disappearance and reappearance in the harbor, which he had witnessed from a nearby merchant ship, and he even explained how it was possible too. By applying Einstein's unified field theory, the military was able to merge electromagnetism and gravity into a single field. When Jessup wrote Carlos back asking for proof, Carlos replied with more stories of the horrors he had witnessed on the day the experiment took place. The deaths of so many men, one who walked right through a wall, and two who burst into flames and burnt for 18 days straight. Apparently. It was then that Jessup decided he had had enough and stopped replying to the letters. Besides, the US Navy had already claimed that the USS Eldridge hadn't been anywhere near Philadelphia or Virginia that day, so in Jessup's mind, this Carlos guy, whose real name was actually Carl Allen, was probably just some nutcase superfan. Or was he?
Speaking of UFOs, let's talk alien technology. What highly advanced technology could have been used to make a ship teleport and travel through time? Well, maybe they had access to some kind of alien technology which they'd been reverse engineering. Where would they have gotten this technology? Possibly from a crashed UFO, or maybe extraterrestrials had a direct hand in the experiment. This is kind of the first place a lot of our brains go with wild stories like this. I mean, how could humans have manufactured something like this, especially in the late 30s or early 1940s? It's debatable when this case actually happened. Of course, entities from outer space, would have had to be involved. Some claim that the aliens provided not just the technology, but also the knowledge on how to use it, and this alleged partnership could still be going on to this day.
Alright you guys, remember Morris K. Jessup and good old Carl Allen? Good, because here's where things get weird. And by weird, I mean here's where things start looking like maybe Carl Allen wasn't crazy, and the government is working overtime to have him and anyone else who knows sensitive details about the experiment silenced. For a while, Jessup had forgotten about Carl until a year later when two officers from the ONR, the Office of Navy Research, turned up at Jessup's door. Why? Well, they had received a copy of Jessup's book, The Case of the UFO, with annotations written into the margins by what at first appeared to be three different people but later turned out to be just one person. You guessed it, Carl Allen. The annotations outlined the Philadelphia experiment in great detail and even alluded to, as James said, alien involvement in the project. Here's the thing though, if Allen was a nutjob spreading false truths about some kind of made-up government project, then why did the ONR care? And why did they care so much that they had to show up to Jessup's house?
Was the Philadelphia experiment an intentional attempt at time travel? Maybe the US Navy wasn't just trying to render the USS Eldridge invisible, they'd been attempting to manipulate time all along. The idea is that by generating powerful electromagnetic fields around the vessel, scientists hoped to create a sort of wormhole, a portal that would enable the ship to jump instantaneously to different points in history. And what would the point of this be, aside from the pure novelty of it, of course? Well, I mean, the ability to travel through time and alter the course of history, that would make you pretty much unstoppable.
Here's where things get dark. By the time the 1950s rolled around, Morris Jessup's career had taken a major dip. His latest book was a massive failure and he was dropped by his publisher. And so, in a last-ditch effort to regain some kind of notoriety in both the scientific and extraterrestrial communities, he decided to write a book about the Philadelphia experiment, a book that unfortunately would never see the light of day. Jessup began gathering all of the letters Allen had sent to him and doing a serious deep dive into the legitimacy of his claims, and in 1958, I guess he found something. He gave a folder full of information to a friend of his named Ivan Anderson and begged him to keep it safe just in case something bad happened, which, as you've probably already guessed by now, it did. On April 19th of 1959, Jessup made a call to his friend Mason Valentine. During the phone call, Jessup revealed that he had made a breakthrough in his research and that he wanted to meet with Valentine the following day to discuss. Fast forward to that day, April 20th, 1959, Jessup is found dead in his car from carbon monoxide poisoning. There is a hose lodged into his exhaust and washcloths are pressed onto the windows to keep any fumes from escaping. No autopsy is conducted and his death is ruled self-inflicted. While some of the letters between Jessup and Allen are able to be viewed online, the rest of Jessup's research was never found. Either that or the government found it, and they probably killed him as well, like they most likely killed Jessup.
Now, visibility, time travel, teleportation, aliens, all very fun ideas, sure, but what's actually the most likely explanation? Degaussing. Degaussing is a technique used to eliminate unwanted magnetic fields in objects, in this case ships and submarines. Basically, they were trying to make their subs undetectable to enemy mines. In degaussing, the ship's hull is subjected to strong electrical currents or magnetic fields to neutralize the magnetism that builds up over time from the Earth's magnetic field and electronic equipment that's on board. In the case of the Philadelphia experiment though, maybe they were working on something more advanced, a more extreme version of degaussing. Instead of just neutralizing the ship's magnetic field to evade enemy mines or submarines, they could have been experimenting with methods to completely cloak the USS Eldridge from radar detection. This would involve not only demagnetizing the ship, but also manipulating electromagnetic fields to bend light around the vessel, essentially making it invisible.
Cosmic strings are theoretical one-dimensional threads that could exist in the fabric of space-time. Think of them as incredibly thin, incredibly long defects that might stretch across the universe. If these cosmic strings are real and they come close enough together, their powerful gravitational fields could potentially create a kind of warp in space-time. This warp might be just the right kind of distortion needed to build a time machine. In essence, if cosmic strings exist and their gravitational effects can be harnessed, they could theoretically allow us to bend or even twist time, opening up the possibility of traveling to different moments in history. It is definitely a mind-bending idea that combines the mysteries of space with the allure of time travel. What more could you want in a time travel theory? It's got it all. Tachyons are theoretical particles that, if they exist, would have a remarkable property. They travel faster than the speed of light. In the world of physics, this is a huge deal because, according to some theories, moving faster than light could open the door to time travel. If tachyons are real and can indeed zoom through space at these incredible speeds, they might allow us to not only travel forward into the future, but also move backward in time. This is because, in some speculative theories, exceeding the speed of light could let you slip through time's usual flow, letting you revisit or even alter past events. So, they could be the key to unlocking the possibility of time travel, though they remain firmly in the realm of theory and speculation for now. Next, we are talking about the grandfather paradox. It is a classic puzzle in time travel discussions. So, picture this. Someone travels back in time and stops their grandfather from meeting their grandmother. If this happens, it means the time traveler's parents would never have been born, and by extension, the time traveler themselves wouldn't exist. This creates a logical loop, because if the time traveler was never born, then they could never go back in time to make that change in the first place. Essentially, it shows how messing with past events could lead to impossible contradictions and problems, making us question whether changing history is even feasible without causing major headaches for the timeline. And this brings us perfectly into our next theory, the many worlds interpretation. This theory, tied to quantum mechanics, proposes that every possible outcome of a quantum event actually happens, each in its own separate universe. Imagine it like this. Every decision or event that could go one way or another creates a new parallel universe where that specific outcome occurs. When it comes to time travel, this idea suggests that if you were to travel back in time, you wouldn't necessarily change the history of your own universe. Instead, you would enter a new alternate timeline where things play out differently. So rather than rewriting your own past, you'd be stepping into a parallel universe where history just took a different path, making it a fascinating way to think about how time travel might work without creating paradoxes. Richard Feynman, a renowned physicist, introduced an imaginative concept known as the checkerboard model to help us grasp how particles might interact with time. In this model, time is visualized as a two-dimensional checkerboard where particles move across the squares in various directions. Picture it like a chessboard where particles can travel forward, backward, or even sideways, creating a dynamic and flexible view of how they might experience time. This checkerboard framework offers a way to understand how particles might move through time in ways that could be similar to time travel, providing a fresh perspective on how the fabric of space-time might actually work. Feynman's model isn't just a theoretical curiosity, it actually helps scientists think about the possibilities of particles moving in unconventional ways and exploring the quirks of time. Time travel is such a wild concept because of the fact that it is filled to the brim with paradoxes that would certainly need answers. One of the most confounding is the bootstrap paradox. This is a very curious time travel conundrum that deals with objects or information being sent back in time and ending up as the source of their own existence. For example, picture traveling back to Shakespeare's time and handing him a copy of his own plays. If Shakespeare then publishes these plays as his own work, it creates a loop. The plays have no original author because they just came from the future. This raises quite a puzzling question about the origin of the works. Did they come from Shakespeare, or were they simply a product of time travel? It is definitely a paradox that challenges our understanding of cause and effect, showing how time travel could lead to some absolutely mind-boggling scenarios where the source of something becomes a bit of a mystery. Wormholes are fascinating theoretical tunnels that could serve as shortcuts through the fabric of space-time. Imagine a wormhole as a kind of cosmic bridge connecting two distant points in the universe, bypassing the usual longer route through space. If these wormholes really exist and we could find a way to stabilize them, they might not only help us travel across vast distances in space, but could also allow us to journey between different moments in time. In theory, a wormhole could be like having a time machine that lets you hop between eras or even visit far-off places in the blink of an eye. The Novikov self-consistency principle is an intriguing idea that addresses the potential headaches of time travel paradoxes. It suggests that if you were to travel back in time and try to change something, the events you create must fit seamlessly into the existing timeline. In other words, any actions you take in the past would be part of the history that already happened, preventing any paradoxes from arising. This principle implies that the timeline is self-correcting. If you attempt to alter something significant, it will somehow adjust to ensure that everything remains consistent with the history that has already unfolded. So instead of causing contradictions, your time travel adventures would simply align with the timeline that's already set in motion. Pretty convenient, I guess. Black holes. Oh my goodness. Probably probably the most terrifying aspect of outer space. Black holes are incredibly fascinating cosmic objects with such intense gravitational fields that they can actually warp the flow of time. As you get closer to a black hole, time slows down dramatically compared to places far from it. If you've seen Interstellar, you can definitely understand how heartbreaking this concept can be. Imagine you're near a black hole and then you return to a region with normal gravity. You discover that while only a short time has passed for you, a lot more time has flown by for everyone else. This effect, known as gravitational time dilation, effectively means you've traveled into the future. It is a crazy consequence of Einstein's theory of relativity and shows how extreme gravity can stretch and distort our experience of time. Speaking of the theory of relativity, what is that? Einstein's theory of relativity is a groundbreaking concept that changes how we think about time and space. According to Einstein, time isn't a fixed constant. It can stretch and shrink depending on how fast you're moving and how strong the gravity around you is. Specifically, as you travel closer to the speed of light, time actually slows down compared to someone who's staying put. This phenomenon, known as time dilation, means that if you could travel at such high speeds, you could experience time differently from someone else who isn't moving quite as fast. In other words, while you might age just a little, everyone else would experience the passage of time much more quickly, hinting that time travel into the future, at least theoretically, might be possible.